Hello, crafty friends. My name is Jessica, and welcome back to my channel. Today we have Color Blend Series number 22 using the Simon Says Stamp Positively ink. We're going to be using the Morning, Twilight, and Galaxy trio. This is a very blue purple. When I opened up these ink pads, I noticed that Morning was a little bit dry. Not a lot, but for my ink blending, I like them to have a little bit more ink. So what I like to do is I like to do a line of ink and then pull the ink up and over the ink pad until it is fully saturated into the foam. Now you're going to notice a couple little extra hands here as we go through the video. My daughter was wanting to participate and I had to film this during her awake time. So just enjoy the cute little hands. At one point, it looks like I have three hands, which we all wish probably in crafting. So, like I stated, Morning, Twilight, and Galaxy is a very blue heavy purple. To date, there are three different trio sets of purple hues, and this is definitely the one that leans more blue. I was even contemplating using a blue blending brush for these colors, but decided since they were more of a purple hue that I would just go ahead and go with purple, and I'll clean them off in between my purple inks. I like to clean off my ink brushes on a microfiber cloth. My husband gets them usually for free from Harbor Freight. And then I just throw them in the wash when they get nice and dirty, and then they clean up very, very nicely. One of the things I forgot to talk about in the beginning was this is my favorite ink blending paper. This is Simon Says Stamp 130-pound cardstock. It is so beautifully smooth, and it is my go-to for ink blending. Now we're coming up on the little hands, so enjoy as you watch me blend this trio out as she chatters away at me about these inks. I'm almost done with this panel, and as you notice, it looks a little splotchy. And the really fun things about these inks is they start off looking splotchy, but they dry back beautifully. So you're going to see that I'm going to place it out in the upper left-hand corner, and it's going to dry back, like right here. It looks a little splotchy, but just watch how it'll smooth by the time we get to the end. Now, this is Morning, Twilight, and Galaxy. We're going to go ahead and do a quick clean, and then we're going to move on to the next ink panel. This one is a really unexpected color blend. I'm trying to push myself as we near the end of the color blend trios, but this is Butter, Cozy, and Morning. I really wanted to incorporate a yellow since yellow is the opposite of purple. And so that's when I came up with this blend, and it is really, really fun. Now, butter, of course, goes on beautifully, just like butter, you might say. And then when I put on the cozy, which is a very warm gray, it looks brown here. I did decide to go ahead and use my gray hued brush, but it is definitely on the gray scale, especially when you look at the rest of the trio. But the color between butter and cozy is really, really beautiful. I'm loving this. Don't think I've used cozy to date in a color blend video. And now I'm kind of wishing I would have used it a little bit more because it's a really beautiful warm gray. But when we go ahead and add morning, it turns into a really fun blend. Now, because morning is a little bit more on the blue side, I noticed that it's not creating quite the look that I wanted with the yellow. I should have probably went more for a orange, but this was a really quick panel. Whoops, this is Butter, Cozy, and Morning. But I noticed how Cozy really makes that Morning look really blue by changing almost the hue of it. It's not changing the color, it's just making it feel more blue because it's next to it. Up next, we have Marine, Dusk, and Twilight. Because they were a little bit more blue, I decided to do a panel of a couple of other blues located in this line. Marine's a really fun color. I really enjoy using this. It's kind of a true turquoise blue, sky blue for the line. And then Dusk is part of the newest navy trio, and it is one of my favorite trios to date. Now, we talked about how that cozy really made morning look blue. Adding Twilight next to blue is going to make that even more apparent. It's going to pull the blue out of the Twilight, and we're going to kind of forget that it's purple for a minute once I move over to that color. Now, a few tips about ink blending. If you're new here, one of the things that I really try to recommend and also live by is ensuring that you're putting your ink down lightly. You can always build your ink up, but once you put it down, it does not come off without really probably ruining the paper. Unless it's a very light color, sometimes you can get out those using an eraser, a sand eraser. You can get that color to come up, but for the most part, you want to go in light. Now, this is Marine, Dusk, and Twilight. Look at how Twilight just becomes blue on this panel. It almost looks like this is a trio that belongs together, and instead of being from 3 different trios. Now we're going to go ahead with the last one where I throw a little pop of color. This is Rose, Galaxy, and Pine. Rose has to be one of the most beautiful pinks in the color blends or the positively saturated. It's a very, very gorgeous pink. Now, I talked about going in light, and you're going to see here that I went in a little heavy-handed with Rose. But what I find okay with that is the fact that Galaxy and Pine are also a very dark ink color. And so I tend to go darker when all of these colors are on the the lower end of or the higher end of saturation, I guess you could say. And so I did go in very heavy with Rose, and then I ended up going very heavy with the rest of them. I'm trying not to, but because they are on the darker side, it's a lot easier to throw that color down instead of trying to build it up. But what you'll see here is Galaxy paired next to Rose tends to look a little bit more purple because it is probably blending those 2 colors and getting that purple hue in between. And then we're going to go ahead and throw in Pine. And to me, it's pulling it more purple than it was previously. I could be crazy. But compared to the color panel up in the left corner, the one on the bottom, it definitely looks very blue there. And for me, next to Rose, for sure, it's definitely pulling more purple and then adding that green. So for this panel, because the ink is going down so heavy, I'm just making sure that I'm really buffing it out with my brushes to ensure that I get a good blend. Now, sometimes what's fun about these inks is you do get an additional color in between 2 colors. So you can see on that panel that I got a different purple color, a more red violet purple. And that's what's fun about these inks is you can get more colors by having less ink pads. So I went ahead and dried these panels off camera, and this is Morning, Twilight, and Galaxy, the original trio. Then we're going to move into Butter, Cozy, and Morning. This would make such a beautiful gender neutral or maybe a gender boy baby card. Then we're going to move into Marine, Dusk, and Twilight. Again, those colors look like they are already a trio and belong together. How beautiful they dried back too. I would recommend that you kind of zoom back and see how different they look from when I first blended them to now. And then we're wrapping it up with Rose, Galaxy, and Pine. And that's the video for today. The links are all listed below, and please note that they are affiliate links. And what that means that if you shop with me, I do receive a small commission at no cost to you. Thanks for joining. Take care.